Okay, we've gone over this now in Saturday school again, and this is stuff that we've gone over in class throughout, but it's always good to just come back and review and to understand that learning is more than just taking notes. Learning is more than just reading your notes. Learning is even more than just paying attention in class. Learning breaks down into getting meaning out of something. To get meaning out of something, you have to listen, practice, discuss, and read at minimum. Which means you have to take notes in class, pay attention, take notes in class. You have to involve yourself in some kind of study group. If it's not the ones that I've assigned to you in classroom, then it's those that you develop on your own at some kind of study program, right? How many people are involved in study programs outside the school? Which one are you involved in?
The one in my church.
There's one in your church. There's some that are out there that churches run. Case Western Reserve runs some. I did request tutors from Case for some of you, okay? So their study groups are out there. You guys can use it. You're not utilizing each other. You utilize each other for social media all the time. For joking and playing, you utilize each other well. But you're wasting an opportunity here. Instead of talking about so-and-so and what they did to you and etc., which you can do all day long, it's not a problem, spend some of that time talking about biology. Asking yourself, did you understand what was going on? Quizzing yourselves, right? Didn't I say that over and over again? Quiz yourself on the content. All right, so you have to quiz yourself. If you guys aren't quizzing yourselves, you don't know if you're right or wrong. Your understanding could be wrong and you don't even know it. And then you walk in on a test thinking you know what you're talking about, and you're freaked out because you don't know what you're talking about. You thought you did, but you don't. All right, so revising your notes. Revising your notes. Remember the 6 R's. The 6 R's encompasses all of this, okay? So the revising your notes means, okay, I learned this in class. I didn't understand it. I looked it up in the reading. Let me add to my notes what I learned. It's effort. It is. It's a lot of work. Kids tell me all the time, it's too much. It's too much. If it's too much, you're not going to be able to do as well as you could. You have such potential. Why would you not take advantage of that potential? Then there's objective source and checking your understanding. This is the key. You need an objective source. Your understanding in your head may not be the right understanding. You need some objective source. Getting quizzes from your friends, that's great, but both of you, or all 5 of you, need somewhere that's objective that you can say, you can look it up and say, were we right or were we wrong? And that could be me after school, that could be, or before school, even in class as you raise your hand. One thing I've noticed about this whole 9th grade this year is you guys don't really ask a lot of questions that are on task, right? You ask a lot of questions like, I don't know, I can't think of any right now. But when it comes to like cell structure stuff, why are we not raising our hands and asking these questions in class? I don't understand what modify means. You know what I'm saying? These are words, these are things that you need to raise your hand and say, okay, I don't get it. And there's another danger, and this is a real big danger for all of us, is that when you're in class, it might make sense to you in class. It makes perfect sense to you in class while we're going through it because I'm giving you context. The problem is that on a test, the context has changed, right? It's no longer someone explained to you step by step what a cell is and its structures, or it's no longer looking at a situation I give you in class. It's some other situation, some new situation, right? And that's why you're always shocked on a test. Well, this question is different from what we learned in class. It's always going to be different. It's never going to be the same. Well, that's not true. It's rarely going to be the same. So anyways, enough of that. The class test, the reason you take a class test is so that you can get an objective view of what you understand and what you don't. So this test, you're getting 20% on your grade. Should I be worried about you getting an extra 20% for being here and going over this material? No, because what is my objective? That you understand and you're ready for the state test. I don't care about percentages, etc. The grade is only for motivation for you, and for you to know, do you understand this or not? If you got 30 or 40% or 50%, do you understand this material? No. No, you don't. So that's not saying that you're not smart. That could be you missed one of these, right? Look at all these things you have to do. You could have missed any one of these. You might not have done the 6 R's. Maybe you didn't quiz yourself. Maybe you didn't check your understanding. Maybe you didn't read the chapter. Maybe you didn't do the class notes. I don't know. Everybody has their own excuse, their own reason. But it doesn't matter. To me, all I care about is that you get the information and understand it. Am I clear? I would personally, if I were you, not wait to come in here on a Saturday school after you get a bad grade to try to get 20% back during a Saturday instead of just getting it right the first time. So I would do all this the first time and put the effort in on the front end, and that way you get the results on the front end and you don't have to do all this. And you don't have to feel bad about it though. Feeling bad about it is useless, right? How does that help you? So you messed up. Figure out what you messed up, fix it, and move on, right? That's it. All right, so the question the state, the federal, international organizations want to know is, what do they know? How well are you prepared? That's what all these tests are about. Unfortunately, that means if you don't know enough, they don't want you to have a diploma, right? If you don't know enough, they want the diploma to mean something. The different businesses, the federal government, the state government, the international, they want to say, oh, you have a high school diploma? They want to know, okay, so you understand some basic biology. Because that's what you have to do to be able to get a high school diploma, right? They find that too many people today have a high school diploma, but they don't understand basic ideas. Does that make sense? All right, so that's it. And remember, when you get the wrong answer, it could be that you didn't prepare. It could mean and this is rare, but it could be that your reading ability is low. So maybe you need to get some reading tutors, so go to reading labs. It could mean that it could be test anxiety. If you have test anxiety, you got to work it out. We do have a what is that? I keep forgetting what they call those guys. For lack of a better word, we'll say a counselor downstairs that deals with emotional, social stuff. So they're a social worker and they have some psychology background. They can help you out. So test anxiety, we can help you out with maybe giving you more time on a test, that kind of stuff. But we have to identify that you have test anxiety. And not checking your answers before the test. And not checking your answers on the test, during the test. So these are kind of common problems for people to get wrong answers. Most of the time, I'll be honest, when we break it down, when I do a question and answer period with you, a short interview with you, most of the time you're not preparing. You're not preparing for the test. You're not doing these things. Somebody does this, but they don't do these, or somebody does this, but they don't do that. I mean, people give me all kinds of reasons. Their study group doesn't work. Look, the study group that you picked at the beginning of the year, if it's not working out, find somebody else to work with. Take the initiative. It's your grade. It's your life. Okay, so that's it. That's all. So let's take a look at this here. Let's go through and review. We're reviewing the test stuff. I think everybody, the more you review, the better. So I know a couple of you were, I guess they left, but a couple of people were here. By the way, can someone start a sign in?
I got you.
Because I want to make sure everybody, and put in the names of the people that came and left, and they left. Let's put down about 5 minutes ago, so let's put down 9:40 a.m. All right, so reviewing for your notes, reviewing of this material, I think is important for you because obviously people don't get it. So there's several cell types that we've talked about. You've done an activity that people have gotten 100% on, but for some reason it doesn't. And these are sketches, right? So we're not gonna make fun of my sketches if we can help it. So there's different cell types, and so these are the three major ones. There are others, right? So there's protease. I'm going to go ahead and go ahead, draw it. And there's protease. There's prokaryotes. There's fungal cells. Okay, so that's good. There are many more, but we'll go with what we have here. So you have this geometric shape. You see this geometric shape? You see these sharp angles?
Yeah.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking? See?
That's a plant cell.
Plant cell, that's right. You're thinking plant cell because it's probably a plant cell wall. But that's not the plant cell wall is not inside the cell. All right, so you need to understand that. The membrane here, the cell membrane, which normally they don't even show it on a plant cell, is something like this. So it sits around the outside of the... So the plant cell is actually inside. It produces the plant cell wall that helps it against dehydration or overhydration. So in the center, you have somewhere, it's not always in the center, it kind of is most of the time it's actually off to the side in a plant. You got this round thing with another round thing inside it. Almost looks like an egg with an egg yolk, right? What is that?
Nucleus.
That's the nucleus, that's right, nucleus. Question?
Yep. Okay, so you know those round plants that we eat and flies, the fly eaters or whatever?
Yeah.
So you know how they die if you put too much water, like if you give them too much water? So do they not have the cell in the cell wall?
That's a good question. There are some, cactuses, for instance, they don't eat flies. So there's two different kinds of plants you're talking about. There are desert plants that are adapted to live in the desert. They can handle not having a lot of water, but they can't handle having too much water because they're adapted to live in the desert. Does that make sense? A Venus flytrap is adapted to live in the rainforest, so they can take water, but not a super lot because they're in the rainforest. There's a lot of plants, they suck up a lot of the water, so they're not every individual, they drown easily, in other words. Right? Venus flytraps are used to not having a lot of nitrogen in the soil. So because there's not a lot of nitrogen in the soil, they need extra sources of nitrogen, and they get it from bugs. They still do photosynthesis though, so don't get that confused. All right, but that's not the focus, right? So now there's, in a plant cell, another structure you should be looking for is this giant thing right in the middle. Notice is there a second circle inside that thing? Is it round? So it's not round, and there's no second circle, so we know it's not a nucleus, right? It's a vacuole, right? So it's called, and actually animal cells also have small vacuoles, so don't get confused. But we can write down, if you ever see the question, you can always be assured to call it a large, let me phrase this correctly, large central meaning in the middle usually, right? Vacuole. And it regulates water. The whole point of the vacuole is to regulate water, but there's a large central vacuole. Then you'll have this other thing in here that's usually kind of fairly massive. There'll be a lot of them. They won't just be just one, but in my drawing I'm not going to have a lot. So they'll usually have like stacks. You see how they're stacks? When you look through the microscope, you'll see these things that have stacks on them. Either the photocopy didn't come out well on a test, but you can still see the stacks. So I wish it was clear. This is called what?
The Golgi is the Golgi Body?
No, it has a membrane around it. It looks like it's an organelle. We'll see the Golgi Body in a minute. What do you call this thing? Has stacks? No. So now, you see, I love that you're answering. Now I want you to think about it. If I'm answering, the answer is no, then what does that tell me? I need to work on this, right? So that's the kind of thinking you have to happen. This is called a chloroplast.
I thought about what I just did.
All right, so chloroplasts, they do photosynthesis. All right. Now, around the nucleus, always around the nucleus, this particular organelle, and this is true of plant and animal cells, around the nucleus, that's right, around the nucleus you always have this ER, Endoplasmic Reticulum. It's gonna undulate, it's gonna come like this. And it's usually all the way around, it's continuous, it's connected to the DNA, to the nucleus, and it has two parts. It has a rough and a smooth. The rough has little bumps Little bumps. You see little bumps?
Yep.
These little bumps, what are they? They're another organelle. These bumps are actually another organelle. They don't have membranes. What are they? Ribosomes. That's right.
That's what it's called.
Huh? Yeah, you can use anything you want to
It
eat.
don't matter which side they on, like the rough you are and the
If
smooth.
the ribosomes are only on the rough because that's what makes it rough.
Okay.
And so first you have the rough ER, endoplasmic reticulum, and then you have ribosomes. On the test on Tuesday, you're going to be tested on ribosomes. All right, you're going to be tested on ribosomes.
The ribosomes.
It's in the packet.
They
Huh?
only appear on the.
No, very good question. No, there are also some floating around in here. So there are ribosomes floating around in the cytoplasm as well. So there are some that are attached to a rough endoplasmic reticulum, and some that are free floating. And so ribosomes make. Remember, I asked you a question earlier. What do they make? What do ribosomes make? What do ribosomes make?
Protein.
I heard it. Yeah, proteins. That's right. They make proteins. So where are most of the proteins made? What does the rough endoplasmic reticulum do? It makes proteins. Makes it modifies. It doesn't modify. It makes them. It does make some small modifications, but I'm not going to get into that. All right, the smooth one. Thank you. Put it down. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum, right? That deals with lipids. All right, that deals with lipids. The rough endoplasmic reticulum deals with ribosomes. The smooth one deals with lipids. Is that clear, guys? Mm-hmm. All right, so we should be pretty good with understanding those organelles. Of course, you can understand it right here, but what do you need to do if you're going to try to understand it for any exam in the future? Revise it, practice it, quiz each other. Because guys, just because you know it right now, it's in short-term memory. For you to get it in the long-term memory, you got to work with it. If you don't work with it, it doesn't go in the long-term memory. All right, so there's your rough endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So here's your central vacuole. What does a central vacuole do? Anybody know? What does a central vacuole do?
The transport, right?
Nope. The central vacuole regulates water. Thank you. Yeah, you do know a lot, but what do you need? What does this tell you? The fact that you're not getting these right. What is it telling you?
Learn more.
You got some work to do. What work do you have to do? Revise your notes, make index cards, practice. You got a sister at home that you can practice with. You're the one that has no excuse, right? Because you're at home, you guys can quiz each other all. You could be at the dinner table arguing about what a ribosome does or doesn't do. But if you're not arguing, if you're not working this knowledge out, you're not working your brain out, you're not getting it in your head, and you got a brother at home you could argue with. And I'm sure you do. Instead of arguing over who touched your toothbrush, or who gets the bathroom, or what channel you're watching, or what food, what you're making for dinner, why don't you argue about what a ribosome does and what an endoplasmic reticulum does? I'm just giving you suggestions. I'm exaggerating. So regulates water. So when it's dry, it releases water. When it's wet, it absorbs water. All right. Someone's here. Good. All right. So now the Golgi body. Everybody always loves the Golgi body, but they never know where the heck the thing is. Yes. You have an answer?
I know what it does.
Oh, good. Well, the Golgi body, you're going to find it. Here's the key. And you see how the endoplasmic reticulum is attached? You see how it's attached to the nucleus? Mm-hmm. Well, the Golgi body isn't, and you're going to see.
It's on the side.
It is. It's on the side, and it has little vacuoles, kind of. It's like something like that. And that's the Golgi body. Always capitalized because it's named after a person. what does a Golgi body do?
It modifies proteins for export.
It modifies proteins. It modifies proteins, okay? Now, the rough endoplasmic reticulum does handle modification of proteins, production modification, but the Golgi body, its sole purpose is to modify proteins, and it's specifically for export. And the export could mean to the membrane, right? And we know what membrane proteins are. Those of you that made membranes, those of you that didn't make any membranes, well, or didn't pay attention or didn't get it, you got trouble. All right, so membrane, and it also outside the cell. What are examples of that? Look, your pancreas puts insulin in your blood. Insulin's a protein. What modified that protein for it to leave the cell? For it to go into your blood? The Golgi body. What made that insulin? What organelle made that insulin? The ribosomes, probably on the endoplasmic reticulum, the rough ER. Right? So insulin, all production of protein is out here in the cytoplasm. But each organelle has its own job to do it. So that takes care of the Golgi. The cell wall is outside, right? And that's the structural, right? That's structural stuff. And what else? I think that takes care of the nucleus. Obviously, I said this in class 1,000,001 times. I'm going to get people that are not going to get it right anyways. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong on that, because it's really kind of frustrating. But the nucleus, I'll say this very clearly, has the DNA. That's the only place you're going to find, besides, I'm missing one big one nobody mentioned. I'm missing the mitochondria. And the mitochondria is this. It has this going on. You see the difference between a mitochondria and the chloroplast? Yeah. See, the chloroplast has stacks, and a mitochondria undulates. Yep. And what this thing does, and really it's an important piece, but it's also very simple. It makes ATP. It takes in something called pyruvate, which comes from sugar.
Oh, that's the squiggly line that you're talking about right now?
Yeah. The whole mitochondria. This is the mitochondria. And I mentioned this in class a number of times, but I'll say it again. ATP is the energy for the cell.
That was a question.
Yeah, there was a question in the packet. The question on the test. Yes, ma'am. And question in the packet. Yes, it was. So that question came directly from the packet. That packet was a really good packet. If you were able to go through it, work with your study groups, listen to what we talked about in class, applied it, you would have had an A on that test, right? So, okay, so you didn't, so let's work it out. So you see how much information is here, right? Okay, so the DNA, and of course you have another structure, by the way, that's in, I thought I could pick this. Can I pick this? Oh, is that what this is? All right, so that's close enough anyways. So we have another organelle that's inside this organelle. It's not really an organelle, it's kind of a structure. We call it a nucleolus. And that's inside the nucleolus is where it has RNA. All right. So there are no proteins made in the nucleus, okay? So there's no protein manufacture going on in here. There's no DNA outside the nucleus. There's no DNA outside the nucleus. All genomic DNA, and I'm going to say this clearly. I'm going to say this clearly, and I'm going to write it. Genomic. So that's inherited DNA. That's the DNA that controls what the cell does is only in the nucleus. Now, there is DNA in other places though, so this is tricky. This has mitochondrial DNA, and we'll talk more about that later. Mitochondrial DNA is only for the mitochondria. It doesn't control anything else in the cell. Does that make sense? So the mitochondrial DNA, bless you. Did you say get out? That's hilarious. So mitochondrial DNA is the DNA. It's in the mitochondria that controls the mitochondria and how it works. I gotta pause this. I'm recording again, and I'm recording again, and so this also brings out another issue that chloroplasts also have DNA. So chloroplasts and mitochondria have their own DNA, separate from each other. They don't share the DNA, and you have the nucleus has its own DNA as well. Wow, that's a lot of information for one cell type. Yeah.
What's that? What's RNA?
Right. Well, that's part of that reading. That's part of that unit. That's why I'm not going to have the test on Tuesday, and we'll have to have 2 days of discussion because obviously. I just want to say, it's not your fault. I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff. And obviously you're not ready for the test. I don't like giving you a test that most people aren't ready for. Well, RNA is, we'll talk about it. I'll talk about it before we leave. All right? So, now look, here is an animal cell. Please pay attention. Here's what's interesting here is that here's an animal cell. An animal cell is a cell of any animal, multicellular organism. It has a nucleus. It has mitochondria, just like a plant. It has a Golgi body. Notice it's by itself. It has an endoplasmic reticulum. Let me do a little different color here.
What's that?
Endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum, ER, right? ER. This is a rough ER, right? And then there's a smooth ER, rough and smooth. So there's two organelles there, kind of. And then it has ribosomes, and that's those little white dots. It's also ribosomes, right? There's lysosomes, right? And there's what else is there? There's vacuoles, food vacuoles, right? But does it have a central vacuole?
No, it just has a normal vacuole.
It has normal small vacuoles. Does it have a cell wall?
No.
And I made these mitochondria way too big, by the way. That's my. So scale's not appropriate. This mitochondria is way too big. All right. I'm not erasing the whole thing though. The nucleus is much bigger as well, so the proportions are a little off. But that's the point. Is that's an animal cell, okay? I don't have to put all the functions because guess what? All the functions are the same. If you know your functions for the structures, they're the same throughout all the different cell types. All right, and then you got this was an animal cell. This other one over here is what's called a protist. Well, I did in class. I told you there's a single-celled organisms that are eukaryotes. So notice that they're all three of these. All three of these are what? That's my sister. She keeps ringing. Can someone give me my phone? It's in my pocket. It's in a zipper pocket. She's going to keep ringing till texting until because she's a train. She doesn't stop. I've done everything I can to stop her, but she just keeps coming.
I know you had a sister.
Yeah, I got a sister and 3 brothers. All right, so
Why you never told us stories about her?
I try to forget her as much as I can. No, I'm kidding. I love my sister. She's a nurse. She's a nurse at the VA. But we fought like cats and dogs when we were kids. Oh my God. Oh my God. I can tell you some stories.
gonna keep it.
See, look. So this, like, she's literally sent me, starting 33 minutes ago and ending now, she sent me 10, 15 messages.
Oh, that ain't nothing.
I'm like, why? You know I'm at work. Oh, she doesn't know I'm at work probably because it's Saturday. All right, so anyways, protists. Protists are single-celled eukaryotic organisms, so they have the same organelles, guys. They have the same organelles. Endoplasmic reticulum, the rough and the smooth.
Oh, my bad.
The rough and the smooth. They have mitochondria. They have vacuoles. They have a Golgi body.
Would everything be in the same spot?
No, it's never in the same spot. Not even in the same, not even in your cells. In your cells and different cell types within your own body, you'll find the nucleus in different spots. You'll find the mitochondria in different spots. So there's no way, there's no one way these cells come. But the organelles are very identifiable. All right? In the protein, now that's proteins. This is a danger, one of those danger zones, because a protein starts with PRO, and so does what? Prokaryote.
No nucleus.
So remember, this could be a C or a K, depending on the source, and it begins with pro as well. So that's a problem for us because we can easily confuse them. So be careful with that. I'm glad. There is no nucleus in this, but it does have DNA. The DNA is all wiggly in here in the center, and actually, it's circular. There's a lot. We'll learn about that. Yeah.
Why does a prokaryote have cells?
Right. So different prokaryotes have different shapes. You should know, and I'll just quickly say, some prokaryotes have this shape. Some have rod shapes, like E. coli have rod shapes, no tails. Some prokaryotes have a tail, called a flagella. Some protists have cilia, but prokaryotes don't have cilia, but some protists have cilia. They swim with these things. All right? And then you have fungi. Fungi, this is a fungus. One type of fungus, which we talked about in class, is yeast. All right? Yeast can't cause infections, but we use them to brew beer, right? We use them to make bread, right? So, but it is also a eukaryote. It has a rough endoplasmic reticulum. Hold on a second. It has a Golgi body. It has ribosomes. It has mitochondria. Has everything the animal cell does. But interesting thing is that it has something extra. Anybody know what that something extra is? A cell wall. That's right. Somebody was listening. So it does have a cell wall. I don't want to make it green because I don't want you to think that it's make it pink. Yeah.
So what is a yeast infection?
Right. We talked about it in class a little bit. Let me say this: a yeast infection is when you get yeast building up, and you have yeast all over your body. There's fungal spores all over your body, all over the room. Everywhere you go. You have to go to the restroom, I'm sorry. I need to buy, I'm going to go to Costco and buy a giant box of tissues. You guys I give up. I kind of feel like you guys should bring your own tissues, but I give up. You win. I'll bring tissues. Yeah.
I know you don't do extra credit, but I brought you tissue and I need extra credit.
I do. What do you mean you know you don't do? I do.
You do that 1% stuff, that's nothing.
Well, you're getting 20% on your test right now.
This counts, like...
Yes, you can bring it in for some extra credit, but that's the 1% kind. Because the 1% kind's not... Hey, guys, try listening. The 1% kind to me is just about participating in class and being part of the community. It's 1%. This is a biology class. This isn't kindergarten where you like nice and you get a star and that gets you a grade. Come on. I miss those days.
Me too.
My mom was a first grade teacher. You know what she did? She used to have at home on the wall a chart where all her kids' names, she literally made a chart where all her kids' names. Every time we didn't fight, every time we did our chores, she gave us a star. If we got 5 stars, we got a pizza night on Friday. We missed the 5 stars, we don't get to participate in pizza night. She used to do it. So that's why I was so well behaved, though, and that's why I was so big. I always got pizza. All right, enough joking. Look, guys, fungus, the yeast fungus here, First of all, I want to talk about the fact that this is a eukaryote, right? So remember, we're putting stars by this, right? Do you see these stars? That means they're eukaryotes. So this is a eukaryote, this is a eukaryote, this is a eukaryote, and this one's a eukaryote. So all four of these are types of eukaryotes, right? The difference is, of course, that with fungi, they have cell walls. Some proteins have cell walls too, but the fungi are eukaryotic organisms that definitely have cell walls. Now, these cell walls are not made of cellulose. They're not like that. They're different in what they're made of, but they are cell walls nonetheless. But notice they don't necessarily have these sharp corners. You look at yeast underneath the microscope, they're going to be round. So that's another interesting point. The reason is this is a multicellular organism. This is a single cellular organism. So this, being a multicellular organism, what do you think is going to be built on the other side of this wall? What's going to be over here?
What was the question?
This is a multicellular organism, right? What does that mean? It has multi-cells. What does multi-cells mean?
Many cells.
Many cells, thank you. So this has many cells, made of many cells, right?
Yep.
So what do you think, this is a flat side. What do you think is going to be on the other side of the flat side? Another cell. So that this is built like a brick, isn't it? Like a Lego or one of those hexagon things. They all meet up on each side, so you can build a big beast. A beast like that giant tree that's outside our window. A honeycomb, very good. Honeycombs for bees, right? So these are very stable geometric shapes, so you can lay one cell on top of the other. That's why a tree could be so heavy. A tree could be a couple thousand pounds, and it's grown straight up. You don't want a tree to fall on you because it's going to squash it. Because it's so big, but it doesn't crush itself because they're like bricks. They're made of tiny little bricks called cells, right? Do you see that? You can't do that with a round cell.
Can it ever break?
They break all the time. That's why you see them falling down and breaking. Lightning, sometimes their own weight. If some of the cells die and they don't maintain the cell wall, then the cell wall crushes. So all kinds of reasons. All right, so we all got all the different cell types. This is the test. This is what the test was on, guys. That was all there was to it. There's nothing else to this test other than what you just see.